to get way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing.
Meet Cook County singer-songwriter Eric Frost.
I kind of have a colorscape of what I want to bring across, and it's actually quite easy.
Electronic tools and tricks color the music of Tobin Dack.
I try to get right in the zone where people can really vibe to the music.
Explore the playful art of masks and puppets with Mary Plaster.
It does teach cooperation, because if you're trying to do a giant puppet and one person is marching left and the other one's marching right, the puppet's gonna go wonky.
Meet these artists and more on this edition of The Playlist.
Funding for The Playlist is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
He's a singer-songwriter steeped in the music of the North. Please welcome Eric Frost to The Playlist.
Well, I grew up on the low side of the levee, about 5 miles south of Memphis town. My brothers and I would run down to the river just to watch her as she steamed on by. Oh Lord, buy me a ticket way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket on a stern wheel steamboat, the Mississippi Queen. Well, she light up the night as she rounded the band, blowing steam with some music from Dixieland. She'd overnight on the eastern wall, blowing till morning, never stop at all. Oh Lord, buy me a ticket way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket on a stern wheel steamboat, the Mississippi Queen. Singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket on a stern wheel steamboat, the Mississippi Queen. Well, I got me a job on the barges and tows, loading soybeans from Mexico. Since the farmers failed 10 years ago, I'll never see where she'll come from, never see where she'll go. Oh Lord, buy me a ticket way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket out of Memphis town on the Mississippi Queen. Oh Lord, buy me a ticket way down south, way down to New Orleans, singing, oh Lord, buy me a ticket on a stern wheel steamboat, the Mississippi Queen.
Mary Plaster is a mixed media artist. She's an activist and an arts facilitator, and she's the founding director of the Duluth All Souls Night. Thank you very much for inviting us into your space.
Oh, thanks for coming.
What is the All Souls Festival?
Well, it started as a closing reception for the Duluth Art Institute. They had me come and do a co-curated show of giant puppets back in 2008. And we came to the end of the show and we were trying to figure out the closing reception, and the date was November 1st. I said, oh my gosh, that's the Day of the Dead. I spent some time in Mexico and I really enjoyed that holiday. this kind of holiday where everyone gets involved with cooking and making art and dressing up and making an altar to their dear departed. It just, we thought it would be great to have the altars inside and take the puppets that had been on display and march them around the library, and then end it with some good fire spinning.
Is it joyous? Is it scary? What is it?
Well, it's both. There's always a lot of pain with losing a beloved person, but the tradition in Mexico is a celebration of life. So you'll see that the skeletons are usually grinning and dancing and doing a lot of the things that they would have done on Earth.
What happens over the course of preparations for an event like this with the people that get involved?
Well, we invite people to come and decorate themselves, number one. So we're making large masks and puppets, but I also want people to come and learn to do the face painting to look like a candy skull, to maybe dress like a whimsical skeleton, or at least to wear black, because it's a funeral march for rotten ideas at the very core of the event.
How has it grown already? You know what I mean? Because it's changed from your first year.
Yeah, I think the first year we had probably less than 100 people, maybe 75 people. And last year people were telling me they thought at least 400 were there. I wasn't able to sit and count, but it was a little bit snug even.
It's an incredible undertaking for an individual to keep this going. Why? What feeds you in all of this process?
Well, I've been interested in masks and puppets almost as long as I can remember. I think I was in high school when I went to my first parade in Minneapolis with the May Day in the Heart of the Beast Puppet and Mask Theater. And I was just really inspired by that, and then started studying masks and puppets around the world. So.
What fun to work on. So when you look at masks, are they humorous? Are they scary? Are they social commentary? How do you see masks being used?
I look at the history of masks, and it goes back from the history of, what makes us human, which to me, to be human is to create. But people were altering their appearances and doing these kind of rituals, maybe for the hunt, or just to celebrate the spring coming back, the sun coming back, the good things of life. So that's really embedded in all our cultures, and that's what's so fascinating, is to look at a culture and then look at their masks. It's sort of like a self-portrait of the culture somehow. So yeah, I got kind of into that in my early 20s. It made me graduate with art and theater degrees, which people laugh, but I've managed to get work. It's not really, lucrative work, but it's always really interesting work.
Tell me about what it is to design something that people are going to wear. Do you have to think about some things differently, or how does that work?
Well, it's really nice to work with paper mache because it's really light. You can copy any shape that you're looking for, but you don't get the weight of something that's maybe carved out of wood or something like that. So I think one of my most challenging projects was working with the ballet here in town, and they would have to be able to pirouette and spin and not have the mask fall off. So that was a big learning process.
You have a series of large ancestor masks with Gandhi and Martin Luther King and some really iconic people in it, or images in it. Which one is Mary?
Oh, well, my favorite, I don't know if it's Mary. I would love to be Hildegard of Bingen. I had this wonderful opportunity to travel in Germany and study about her life, and to discover that, probably half of my roots are from Germany. And I traveled through some villages that were carving masks out of wood, and I was like, yes, these are my people. So Hildegard's a special favorite of mine.
What impact do you think it has? The All Souls Festival, and just introducing masks and giving people the opportunity to explore art in that way?
Well, it does teach cooperation, because if you're trying to do a giant puppet and one person is marching left and the other one's marching right, the puppet's gonna go wonky. So you have to learn to move together. Well, the other thing that I hope happens is that maybe there are some kids that were inspired the way I was inspired, to learn about these world cultures and make their own.
Thank you for your work, Mary.
Thank you.
bam. When I hear it, I mean, it's just like, it's like outer space. I don't know, I really connect with it, and I want other people to experience that same thing, so that's why I write electronic music. I try to get right in the zone where people can like really vibe to the music. I started playing piano when I was 10. It was probably really annoying to my mom, but I kept doing it anyways, and I've always had like an organ in the house and stuff like that, but I never really clung to it until I got the synthesizer. And then I was like, wow, these sounds are wild. My name is Tobin Dack. I like to play electronic music. I have lots of synthesizers, and I live in Duluth, Minnesota.
The story Sophronia springs from Italo Calvino's writing in Invisible Cities, and it's about an imaginary city, a city that's built part of circus, part of stone.
I was like, that sounds like a really cool project. So I talked with Joellen, who has a lot of really great ideas about this huge art project, and I was like, I'll write original music for it.
The music's been really fun.
Each 5-minute video has a 5-minute song that correlates to the video. It's not exactly synced up, but it relates to what the video is specifically about.
It's what I'd hoped, is that we could create a kind of inviting, playful space.
I basically got to learn about every part of the story in each little segment of the city. So I was like, oh, I can write this piece for this, and I made sure to like check out some of the old-time carnival music on the internet. And I was like, yeah, I can get some ideas off that. Okay, the juicy organ specifically sounds like this. It's not that juicy, but I mean, it's juicy enough for me. You can adjust the filtering of it. And then altogether the sequence. It kind of gives it like a fun time carnival feel. Gets people in the mood. You're like, oh, this giant circus tent, it's great. There's all these trippy carnival videos and like shadow puppets and stuff on there. And I just think they work really well together, and I'm glad I got to make it like electronic, because I think Duluth needs a lot more of electronic music in it.
This next song is one that I wrote when we were deep in the throes of a good old-fashioned April snowstorm, and my wife and I got snowed in for a couple of days, and all we had was a bunch of beer, a little food, and some old soul records, and that seemed just about perfect. Waking soft in the morning, I try to let you sleep. I'll muffle my footsteps where the floorboards creak. Oh, Ryan is rising and the robin's back home. After 6 months of winter, still warm to the bone. Take me back, return me to the sound of muscle shoals, dancing here with you. We could dance until daylight, oh, and drink till we're dry. It could be winter till the 4th of July. Hold on, now I'm coming. So Memphis stew. Tighten up and slip away. We're gonna play this record through. Well, the waves are rolling. One day we'll be still when we're all safe at anchor. When we drank all our fill. So good night to suffering. I feel joy in the morn, and the rocks here polished, and the daylight at dawn. So take me back, return me to the sound of Muscle Shoals, dancing here with you. We could dance until daylight, oh, and drink till we're dry. It could be winter till the 4th of July. Thank you, guys.
So Eric Frost, thank you for taking time out for us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Tell me how music got into your life.
Well, I've been playing music pretty much my whole life. Always guitar, always loved to sing. And then once I moved up here from Chicago, we fell into this wonderful community of musicians who are so giving and so generous, and we live in a place that is very supportive of the arts, and so the opportunities are wonderful.
When it comes to inspiration and writing music, where does that come from? Are you every morning I spend 3 hours writing music, or how do you do it?
Well, I'd love to say that I'm that dedicated. No, to answer your question, I do not spend 3 hours a day writing. What I do is a lot of times most of my musical inspiration will happen right first thing when I get out of bed. You know, usually the house is really quiet, and my wife is usually still asleep, and I can work out a tune, and sometimes they come all at once, and sometimes they take a long time to develop and knock around.
Do you actually write out notes and stuff, or do you just play them on your guitar?
Yeah, I usually have the melody in my head, and then I can kind of figure out what key suits my voice or suits what I'm trying to get across. And so I'll play with that for a little bit, but music is for me, it's almost visual. I kind of have a colorscape of what I want to bring across, and it's actually quite easy to do.
What comes easier, the musical notes or the lyrics?
Yeah, definitely the music. The music, I've always got melodies bopping through my head, but the lyrics are the ones that take some time.
You have a little bit of a musical journey through the Appalachian Mountains and up to the north, and a little bit of the Deadhead Trail.
You got
really?
it. You got it. Yeah, I grew up following the Grateful Dead around. You know, they are not only an inspiration to me, but they really brought a ton of musical history, whether it's American or Latin or jazz or whatever. And they were always such big proponents of music as a journey. And like you said, I've been on a journey, and it's been a great one.
What's it like to try to make a living as a musician in Cook County?
It is incredible to live in such a place that is so supportive. We have a number of wonderful venues that support live local music pretty much year-round. And then we also have an amazing tourism association. The Cook County Visitors Bureau is hugely instrumental in allowing us as local musicians to thrive by getting out there and playing.
Tell me about your dobro partner tonight.
Mr. Bill Hansen. Yeah, Mr. Bill Hansen he's been one of my longest friends. I worked for Bill for a number of years starting in the mid-90s, You know, recently, it's really only been about the last 8 years that we've actually played music together. Before that, we were just really good friends. He was an employee, or an employer, and I was an employee, but now I can't imagine not doing it without Bill.
Last question, really quick, is what's the future hold for Eric Frost?
What is that? I don't know. You know, hopefully I just get to continue making music and having a great time doing so.
Thank you for taking
Thanks
time
so
to
much.
play with us.
Yeah,
awesome
thanks
job.
a lot.
Well, we're going to do a song that Bill wrote, and he's nice enough to let me sing it. This one's called Traveler, Travel On. It goes something like this. Met you where the river bites, swimming in your eyes of blue. Pulled that glove from your lily white hand and you said you'd love me too. Oh, travelers, travel on, miss you when you're gone. Stay at homes will stay at home and the travelers travel on. Remember when we danced all night and you wore that dress so fine? Asked if you would marry me and you answered me unkind. Oh, travelers, travel on, miss you when you're gone. Stay at homes will stay at home and the travelers travel on. Who's gonna shoe your pretty little feet now? Who's gonna take the time? Who's gonna hold you in their arms and make you change your mind? Oh, travelers, travel on, miss you when you're gone. Stay at homes will stay at home and the travelers travel on. One of these days I'll travel again, gonna set my compass true. Bid farewell to my own sweet home and travel right back to you. Traveler, travel on, miss you when you're gone. Stay at homes will stay at home and the travelers travel on. Oh, the stay at homes will stay at home, travelers travel on. So I wrote this one about a moonshiner who probably has plenty of people around there still that they don't care for. Well, Mr. Moonshiner, I'm knocking at your door. I know you got them bottles hid beneath your floor. Bottles hid under your floor. So don't tell me that you ain't got no more. Well, whiskey, oh whiskey, devil on my tongue, a 410 down my pant leg. Boy, you'd better run. Moonshiner, you'd better run. If you tell me that you ain't got none. Mr. Moonshiner, I know that it's late. I've been down in a boxcar, putting it all on spades. Honest, this time I'll pay. so don't tell me that I've gotta go away. Well, I've walked through your valleys, I slept in your hills, with an empty ball jar looking for your still. Gonna find your whiskey still. Mr. Moonshiner, look at what you did. You made it, you made me when I was still a kid. Fill my bottle, don't need no lid. 'Cause if you don't, you're gonna wish that you did. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.